Hi, I'm Jolene. I'm Logan's mom, and I'm going to tell you about Logan and his epilepsy, seizures, and some other little information about Logan. This information is intended for Logan's teachers, paras, DSPs, anyone else who is going to be helping Logan. So he started having seizures when he was 2.5, at least that we were able to see at that time. He probably was having seizures before that, but it was the kind that we didn't recognize yet. He has many different types of seizures. The tonic-clonic is the one that's most recognizable. It's the full body convulsion, the one that you see most often in movies or TV shows. He also has had tonic seizures, which is a complete stiffening of the body. Those are more rare for him. Myoclonic, which is the arms can go out and the trunk will go down. That can cause his face to hit rather hard on tables, or he can bend over completely and hit the ground in front of him. That's why he wears his helmet. He also has had atonic seizures. That's like a rag doll where you just go limp and fall down onto the ground. Also another reason why he wears his helmet. He has had absence seizures, and that's where you just stare off into space. Sometimes he'll be lip smacking. You might grab at your clothes a little bit. And many different types of those seizures combined. He might have one myoclonic seizure, one after another. That's called a myoclonic cluster. If he has a myoclonic and atonic together, that's called a myoclonic astatic seizure. There's much more that we could go in about seizures, but right now where he is, he's having a lot of partial seizures, so that would mean that only part of his brain is being affected by the seizures. It's called a focal seizure as well, if you want the most up-to-date medical term. So just a piece of his brain is being affected. So it might look like just one arm going up. It might look like he's suddenly very surprised or gasping. He might look scared. Sometimes he'll try to stand up or walk, but he's not conscious of what he's actually doing. I've seen him stand up and run full speed into the wall before. So those are all things that he needs somebody with him at all times to be sure that he's safe, not running, into walls, into traffic, into water. So he does need someone with him at all times to be sure that he's safe. He still has the tonic-clonics mostly in the morning when he's sleeping, though. And am I missing some seizures that I should talk about?
Um,
For right now,
I don't think so.
about all you're going to be seeing.
Yeah.
Some behaviors that you'll see with Logan. If he gets frustrated, he'll probably start to hit his head, or he'll hit his body. If he gets really frustrated, really upset, he'll say, "Come on, let's go," or "What's next?" And these are all indications that he needs a break. He needs to transition to a preferred activity. So triggers. For Logan, frustration is a trigger, illness is a trigger, dehydration is a trigger, constipation is a trigger, red dye is a trigger. He's not supposed to have grapefruit or grapefruit juice because it interacts with his medicine. Pain is a trigger. Anything that's going to cause Logan to get upset for his brain chemistry to change in any way, the transition from sleeping from one sleep cycle to another, that can cause seizures for Logan. So basically, it's just we try to keep him well fed, well hydrated, and going to the toilet. If you notice that he usually has a bowel movement every day and then suddenly he stops, that's information that we need to know. If you notice a tremor in his hand, that's information we need to know. anything that you see, if his eyes look glazed over at all, that's information that we would need to know. If it looks unusual, that means that he could be ramping up for seizure or a bad seizure cycle. When Logan is in a bad seizure cycle, he's going to have lots of seizures. There's not too much that we can do outside of like giving an extra dose of medicine and stuff like that would be coordinated with his doctor. Basically all we have is a magnet that goes over his VNS implant. He has a battery that's right here on the left side. It's always on the left side, and you can see the wires that go up and wrap around his vagus nerve. It sends electricity to his brain. His current one goes off every minute and a half, about. So about every minute and a half he gets electricity sent up to his brain. And when we run the magnet over his battery, that sends an extra dose of electricity to his brain. So if we see that he's having a seizure, we can run the magnet over and hopefully have a counter effect. So we have a suppressing effect on the seizures. Definitely have seen a large impact from the VNS. Just recently he had his latest surgery, and the battery was completely dead upon the day that they tested it for the surgery, which explained a lot because we'd been seeing a lot of really strange seizures, and since it's been turned on again, it's been incredible. Like, he's doing a lot better. His vocalization is better. He's verbal. He's doing things again. It's really nice. Okay, we know seizure types. Did I go over diagnosis?
No.
Okay, so Logan's diagnosis currently is Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. It was myoclonic astatic epilepsy, but now it's Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. Basically, it's the way the syndromes work is they just take a bunch of the different symptoms, group them together, and that becomes a syndrome. Logan has had some genetic testing, and they have found a random genetic mutation that only he has. His dad doesn't have it, I don't have it, his brother doesn't have it, and it's on SCN1A. It's one protein that got switched out for another one, and no one else tested except one other person has been found to have this. So they think it's probably partially causing the seizures, but no one can really say for sure. It's called a class 2 genetic variation. Class 1 means no big deal. Class 3 is really bad. Okay, so we went over seizure types, diagnosis, triggers, Logan's behavior. I kind of skipped around on.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really fun kid.
Mm-hmm.
He has a great smile. He likes to eat. He loves ranch. He loves trains. He loves talking about shapes and colors. He likes counting things. He loves to move. He likes cranes and, things that can pick up and drop things.
Likes other outside of those things, like he'll like something for a week or 5 and then move on to something else.
Yeah, and he does have echolalia. There's a lot of phrases that he uses that mean something more specific to him than what the words would seem. So you have to listen to the way he's expressing himself, not necessarily the words, but the vocalization or the emotes and the way he says it. An example I always use is like he'll say, "Be happy like me." But when he says that, he'll be crying, and the reason he says it is because in Pinocchio, the little cricket guy tells Pinocchio be happy like me when he's crying. And so Logan saw that and he heard it and he identifies with the emotion of the words and not the actual definition of them.
And the new one he's been doing lately is "I need your help,"
Yeah,
but he doesn't actually need help.
yeah. It's
from Mickey Mouse.
Super White Mickey Mouse. Okay, yeah. He has bunches of them, but he'll be playing and he'll say something like, "I need your help," and he's just playing. But if he actually needs help, he will say, "Help." Yeah. He'll get your help. He does still need assistance in the restroom. Mostly just to be told whether or not he needs to keep wiping. And sometimes he needs to be reminded to stand up and flush every now and then. So. What else? When he's having a bad seizure cycle, he may need to be fed, but he can generally feed himself. He might be in his adaptive stroller.
Adaptive stroller.
But generally, he can walk, he can run, he can jump. He's got good balance. If you see him suddenly stumble, it was because he had a seizure. If you see him suddenly drop something, it's because he had a seizure.
Yeah.
He's not clumsy.
Yeah. He's got better balance than anybody else alive.
He really does. He's super tough too, so you have to be careful because he could be in pain and he won't tell you. Yeah. He'll say that he wants a sticker on his head, which means a Band-Aid. A sticker is a Band-Aid. So he'll want a sticker on his head, and that means that he has a headache.
So put this Band-Aid on his head, but also give him an ibuprofen.
Yeah.
It's not red.
Yeah. Yeah, no red ibuprofen. Even the green ones.
No red.
No red.
Anything.
Just nothing red. Just don't give him red. Red is hidden in meat. It's hidden in chocolate flavoring. Red is in a lot of stuff. Just look at the ingredients. Look at the ingredients, especially around Valentine's Day, Christmas. Please just look. And remember, orange and purple have red in it. Okay, so treating seizures. If Logan has a seizure, the very first thing that you do is take the magnet and swipe over his battery. 1, 2. And then take it away. If you hold the magnet over, it turns the electricity off, so it's not doing anything at that point. So just 1, 2, and then hold the magnet away. You would repeat that every 30 seconds until the seizure stops. At 5 minutes of a tonic-clonic seizure, you would give diazepam. You would give diazostat, which is the rectal medication Valium. If he's having a complex partial, so his body is moving around, maybe his arms are up, he's gasping a lot, they can be pretty extreme in themselves as well. Then you give the diazepam because of the partial awareness. It's the oral medication, so he takes it a lot easier than rectal medication. At 5 minutes, you give the medication. It's gonna take a couple minutes for it to kick in. At that point, if it doesn't stop, then 911 would be completely adequate to call at that point if he's not stopping after getting emergency meds.
We want a phone call before the emergency meds.
Anytime Logan has a seizure that's going to require emergency meds, we need to have a phone call.
Oh, baby. 2 milliliters if it's oral.
2 milliliters diazepam. Diazostat is the 10 milliliters. It should be marked on there, ready to go.
And it's just the whole syringe.
Yeah. Just want to pause it, and I'll go grab. Okay. So this is the diazepam, the oral Valium. You would fill this whole thing up twice. 2 droppers full of this, all the way up to the top. This one's kind of empty. And drop the whole thing into his mouth. 2 droppers full. This is the diazostat. This is the rectal medication. You want to be sure that it says ready there, and you want to be sure it says 10 there. If it is not at 10, it's not the correct dose. And if it doesn't say ready, it's not clicked into where it should be. That should be done before it leaves the pharmacy. There was one time that it got to us and it wasn't prepared for us. So to give the rectal medication at 5 minutes, tonic-clonic seizure, Logan has been laid on his side. Take this cap off. You open up the lubrication. You dip this in, make sure it's very well lubricated. Then you would spread Logan's butt cheeks and put this in, and you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to do this very slowly so as not to cause any damage. And then you would push this down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it pushes down super easy. You don't have to push hard at all. And then you take it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you hold his little cheeks together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just to make sure that the medicine doesn't come out. And that is going to take a couple minutes before it causes the seizure to end. Post-ictal, a lot of times Logan is just able to jump up even after getting Valium, jump up and go about his day. And then sometimes Logan needs to sleep for a couple hours. The only reason that you would need to call 911 post-ictal is if he has another seizure without recovering, or if he has been injured, or if he is just not breathing, obviously. He hasn't ever stopped breathing during a seizure, and he's also never burned up enough glucose that he needed to have emergency medication because of that. That is a concern. After 20 minutes of seizing, the brain can burn up enough glucose that it starts to cause brain damage, and that's one way that people with epilepsy can die. 50,000 people do die of seizures every single year, ranging from things such as status epilepticus to having seizure in water, missing a medication, causing a seizure that will kill a person. So there's lots of things that we do need to be aware of, but as long as we all are aware and we take care of Logan, we keep him safe, then most of those concerns are a very slim chance of anything happening to Logan. What else? Thank you for taking care of Logan and helping him. Thank you for helping Logan in his journey. We appreciate everything that you do. And then we will try to get Lawson to help us later with the